Hi, everyone, before we dive in, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'd love to know who's tuning in. Okay, so this story, buckle up, because it's one of the most twisted tales I've ever come across. This isn't just a story, it's a chilling reminder that betrayal can come from the people closest to you. Let's get into it. Nestled in the heart of the Midwest, Cedarville was a small town where everyone knew everyone. Life in Cedarville revolved around family, community, and faith. The church, Living Faith Ministries, wasn't just a place of worship, it was the social and spiritual center of the town. From potlucks to charity drives, the church brought everyone together. Leading this congregation was Pastor William Grayson, a charismatic preacher in his mid-40s. Known for his inspiring sermons and compassionate counseling, Pastor William was a man people turned to in their darkest times. His words brought comfort, hope, and healing. At his side was Linda Grayson, his devoted wife of nearly 2 decades. Linda was admired for her grace and kindness, often described as the perfect pastor's wife. She organized events, led prayer groups, and mentored young women in the congregation. Together with their 2 daughters, Emily and Rachel, the Graysons were the picture of a wholesome, loving family. But even in the most picture-perfect families, secrets can lurk beneath the surface. Linda had been the backbone of her family for years. She managed their home, raised their daughters, and supported her husband's ministry. But being a pastor's wife came with its own challenges. While others saw her as strong and capable, Linda often felt invisible. Pastor William's growing responsibilities meant he was rarely home. There were late-night meetings, emergencies with congregants, and trips to other churches. Over time, Linda found herself eating dinner alone or attending family events with just the girls. She missed the days when William would come home, kiss her on the cheek, and share stories about his day. Now, their conversations were short, often about church matters or their daughters. Linda started to wonder if their love had become a duty rather than a partnership. But she pushed those thoughts aside, convincing herself that William's work for the Lord came first. Their daughters, Emily and Rachel, were typical small-town teens. Emily, 17, was preparing for college. She was smart, ambitious, and deeply involved in the church's youth programs. Rachel, 15, was quieter, spending most of her time practicing piano or reading. Both girls adored their father, seeing him as a role model. But even they had noticed his growing distance. Emily confided in her mother one evening. "Mom, is Dad okay? He's been so distracted lately." Linda reassured her daughter, though she couldn't ignore the growing unease in her heart. Enter Elaine Carter. 5 years earlier, Elaine Carter had joined Living Faith Ministries as Pastor William's secretary. A single mother in her early 30s, Elaine was efficient, polite, and hardworking. She had a quiet demeanor that made her seem unassuming, and she quickly became an integral part of the church. Elaine's job included scheduling William's meetings, managing church correspondence, and organizing events. She often stayed late, ensuring everything was perfect for Sunday services. To many, she seemed like the perfect employee, dedicated and trustworthy. Linda liked Elaine at first. She admired how Elaine balanced her demanding job with raising her son, Ethan, who was just 6 years old when Elaine started working at the church. Linda invited Elaine to family dinners, holiday celebrations, and even babysat Ethan when Elaine needed help. But as the years went by, Elaine became more involved in William's work. She started taking on tasks that Linda used to handle, like coordinating counseling sessions or managing the church's finances. While Linda was grateful for the help, she couldn't ignore a growing sense of discomfort. What the Graysons didn't know was that Elaine had a troubled history. Her marriage had ended in betrayal when her husband left her for another woman. The divorce left Elaine bitter and struggling financially. She moved to Cedarville for a fresh start, but the scars of her past followed her. Elaine envied Linda's life, the loving Elaine envied Linda's life, the loving husband, the beautiful home, the respect of the community. While she smiled and played the role of a loyal employee, she secretly resented Linda for having everything she had lost. Her admiration for Pastor William began as professional respect. But over time, it grew into something more. She saw him as a kind, understanding man, someone who could fill the void in her life. It started innocently enough. Elaine would stay late to help William with his sermons, and their conversations drifted into personal territory. William shared his frustrations about balancing his responsibilities. Linda began to notice changes in her husband. He was more irritable, often distracted, and spent even more time at the church. When she asked if something was wrong, he dismissed her concerns, blaming work stress. But Linda wasn't convinced. She started paying closer attention, watching how William and Elaine interacted, noticing how their conversations seemed to linger longer than necessary. Still, she couldn't bring herself to confront him. She didn't want to believe that the man she had loved for 18 years could betray her. What began as a secret romance quickly spiraled into something far darker. Elaine became possessive, demanding more and more of William's time. She began calling him late at night, showing up uninvited at his home, and even creating excuses to see him during family vacations. William, overwhelmed with guilt, tried to end the affair. But Elaine refused to let go. She threatened to expose their relationship, warning him that she would ruin his reputation and his family if he abandoned her. For months, William lived in fear, trying to appease Elaine while keeping his family intact. But Elaine's obsession only grew. When she realized William would never leave Linda for her, her heartbreak turned to rage. Elaine had been living with a secret of her own. Years before joining the church, she had been diagnosed with HIV. She had kept this information hidden, even from her closest relationships. Now, she saw it as a weapon. Elaine orchestrated one final meeting, luring William under the pretense of closure. During their encounter, she intentionally exposed him to the virus through sex intercourse, ensuring he had no idea of the danger. Afterward, Elaine returned to work as if nothing had happened. She continued smiling at congregants, organizing church events, and even chatting with Linda as though everything was normal. Months later, William began experiencing symptoms: fatigue, unexplained weight loss, and persistent illnesses. At first, he attributed it to stress, but when Linda insisted he see a doctor, the truth came to light. He had contracted HIV. Linda was devastated. Her own tests came back negative, but the revelation shattered her trust. When William finally confessed to the affair, Linda felt like her entire world had collapsed. Her devastation turned to fury when she learned the full truth. Confronting Elaine, Linda demanded answers. Elaine's response was chilling: "He ruined my life, so I ruined his." The scandal rocked Cedarville. Pastor William resigned in disgrace, unable to face his congregation. Linda filed for divorce, taking Emily and Rachel and leaving the town they had called home. The family's once perfect image was now irreparably shattered. Elaine was arrested and charged with intentional exposure to HIV. Her trial became a media spectacle, with reporters descending on Cedarville to cover the scandal. Elaine showed no remorse, maintaining that she had been the real victim in the situation. The long shadow. Years later, the story of Pastor William, Linda, and Elaine remains a cautionary tale in Cedarville. The Grayson family slowly rebuilt their lives, though the scars of betrayal and public humiliation never fully healed. Pastor William, now living in isolation, dedicated his remaining years to HIV awareness, hoping to prevent others from making the same mistakes. This is a haunting reminder of how trust, once broken, can lead to devastating consequences. It's a tale of love, betrayal, and revenge that destroyed lives and left a community forever changed. This case reminds us that trust is fragile, and its betrayal can have consequences that ripple far beyond what we imagine. So, what do you think about Elaine's actions? Could anything have justified what she did? Share your thoughts in the comments below. This has been another chilling true crime story. Stay safe, stay aware, and remember, trust can be a double-edged sword.